This is my Lamborghini Gallardo, which looks like this after I put it into a ditch.
Oh no.
Before my incident, I added twin turbos to the naturally aspirated V10 engine, making it just over 1,000 horsepower.
That is literally a joke.
But after I crashed this car, I had a decision to make. Claim through my insurance and the car would be scrapped. Or try and rebuild this car myself.
Right now, like I'm actually getting teary.
This is sad, isn't it?
Did you really think I was going to let the insurers touch this car? Of course, I chose to repair it, but there was a lot of damage. To the engine, to the chassis, so much damage that I had to buy a whole other chassis to cut parts off it to use to repair mine. Effectively, I was rebuilding the car again from scratch.
It looks mental, doesn't it?
After we'd fixed the chassis and the engine, we even had to fit new quarter panels as well. And then finally, I got it running for the first time since the accident. That now leaves us with one last job. Now, the Gallardo is fully prepped, sanded down, ready for its new colour. I think it's going to be controversial to some people, but it's going to be exciting to see it all done. Into the paint booth. This is where the Gallardo is really going to come to life. Finally, the car's going all one colour. And this is a colour I've always wanted to do on a Lamborghini. And that colour is British Racing Green. Again, it's sort of a colour that shouldn't be on a Lamborghini, but for that reason is why I think it's going to work even better. The guys at Allied Automotive began to apply the paint to every single panel. It needed its last final polish up before finally we could have it back. Here it is, and it is green. I love a green Lamborghini. This is a British Racing Green Lamborghini Gallardo. The paint job is absolutely next level. Like, it is like a mirror finish. It's like a very flat colour. There's no metallic in it, but I've always wanted a British Racing Green Lamborghini, and now I've got one. The only thing is, this is very much in pieces, and now we've got to build it all back up and get it running back better than it was before. So next step in the unit, get it running right first, then we'll fix all the body panels. I think that's how it goes. Let's go. Step one, had a long think about my actions. At the minute this car is rear wheel drive and it's 1,000 horsepower. So I've decided to get a differential and front drive shafts to make this back to four-wheel drive, because I think that's a sensible option. Let's get these on. As you might know, the Gallardo is usually a four-wheel drive car, but by removing these parts, the prop shaft, the differential and the drive shaft, you can easily make it rear-wheel drive. But as I've found out, it's probably not the best idea. So to make this back into four-wheel drive, first I've got to remove this skid plate underneath. And the first thing to go in is the front differential. I bought a second-hand one because my old one was broken, and it just slides into this gap here, and there's only 4 bolts which hold it to the chassis of the car. For the front diff to send power to the wheels, you're gonna need a drive shaft. And these front drive shafts are really skinny. I'm not sure why I'm trying to eat it, but I think they're skinny because there's only 30% of the power going to the front wheels. But that could mean the difference between grip and no grip. I've just got to tighten the bolt up, which holds the drive shaft to the wheel hub. Then there's around 6 bolts which attach the drive shaft to the front differential, and this is the same on both sides. After that, the prop shaft. This transfers the power from the rear differential to the front differential. Although we are going to be making the car heavier by making it four-wheel drive, it's not actually by that much. This prop shaft, the drive shafts and the diff are surprisingly light. Again, the prop shaft connects by about 6 bolts to the front diff and 6 bolts to the rear diff. We're going to make sure they're all tight, then support the prop shaft to the chassis of the car. And once we've got that all bolted up, we can attach the skid pan back underneath the car, and that is one four-wheel drive Gallardo. I am now four-wheel drive, and hopefully safe. Although I have said it now, and later in the video, this will be getting sent, hopefully, if we manage to rebuild it. Now, you may notice at the back of the car, there is no exhaust coming off these turbos. And because we're actually going to be going into Europe later, and with the twin turbo kit, I used to run it with no bumper. I want to run this with a bumper so it looks nice and clean. So we're going to put on an exhaust which works with a bumper, which is the old one. That's what we're going to fit next. Here's the exhaust. Wow, that is amazing. Crazy.
Look at that.
And it's got MA in there. Wow.
Lovely stuff.
Looks like a bullhorn. So here's the exhaust. This was the original one I had made when we first put the turbo kit on the car. So it should bolt up and fit nicely. And everything was going well till Liam did this. Oh, he's so cranked it. How are you feeling about that one?
Oh, absolutely sensational. In fairness, it is almost midnight and I'm ready to go to bed.
Luckily, I managed to fix the V-band clamp and attach the exhaust to the turbos easily. This time without snapping anything. After that, the heat blankets go over the hot side of the turbo to make sure we don't get any heat transfer onto the cold side of the turbo. And that is job done for the exhaust. So now the OG exhaust is fitted. Now I'm thinking of making a custom exhaust like later down the line, which maybe would exit in a different location. But now with this exhaust on, I should be able to actually fit the rear bumper. Right now, the car should run, start, and drive, which means we can continue doing all the bodywork. But I'm just going to start it just to make sure. Come on, Gallardo. Here we go. Yes! She's running! Now, if I put it into gear, all four wheels should now be spinning. No. What about now? Yes! We're now four-wheel drive. Come on. Everything is going well so far. Now I can start bolting on the rear lights. Both of my old ones were broken, so I had to buy some second-hand ones. Once they were bolted on, I could then install the brackets, which holds this rear panel with the badge on, and that sits in between the lights. So far, all of this seems to be all lining up pretty well, bearing in mind that half of the chassis has been replaced. After that, the rear crash bar can go into place. Again, bolted in with no problems. Everything lining up perfectly. Now I'm onto the rear engine cover. I've got to thread the wiring loom of the engine cover through the holes in it and then all the way down to the back because there's a brake light which sits in the rear spoiler. 2 more trims to install, then we're on to our first upgrade. It's carbon time, upgrade time. This green is going to look mega next to the carbon. So we're going to put a Super Leggera wing on it. So these have got to be fitted first. These are the wing brackets. So they're going to go underneath here. Super Leggera, meaning super light in Italian. All of the upgrades that we're doing to this car are hopefully going to make it lighter, which in turn should make it faster. We plan to be racing this car on track at the end of this video. We didn't quite go to plan, but for now, I'm trying to make this Gallardo one of the fastest and best handling that it ever could be. Mansory glue. I'm adding a bit of Mansory glue to the wing brackets. This is just going to help stick down the wing along with the bolts that are going to go up from underneath it. It can't hurt to give it that extra bit of security before going underneath and whacking in the bolts, which go through the wing brackets and into the bottom of the wing. And I almost forgot the reverse camera. I've had to pull out the rear brake light again so I could plug the rear camera into the same wiring loom, put the brake light back in, add a little bit more Mansory glue and slide the camera into its mounting point, making sure I centralise the camera with the hole. Then I could guide the mounting point back into place and bolt it all back onto the lower part of the spoiler. And that's one carbon spoiler fitted. Yeah. It looks so, you look like you're in an MTV like music video, yeah, like a skater boy. Here is the rear bumper and I've upgraded the rear diffuser to match the rear wing. We've got a Super Leggera carbon diffuser. It's not a genuine one, it's just like, it doesn't matter. It's just the same, it looks the same, it just doesn't fit as good. So here's upgrade number 2, the carbon diffuser. First, I'm plugging in the wiring loom for the rear bumper, which only consists of the rear fog light. There's no parking sensors on this car, just how I like it. Then I can slide the bumper in place, and of course it fits nicely. It's the OEM rear bumper. There's then just one nut and bolt each side to pinch the bumper to the rear quarter. Next step, top grille. There's then the grille, which slides in place between the bumper and this top panel, and is held in with a few screws in between that honeycomb mesh. How good does that look? That carbon wing and that carbon diffuser have completely transformed this car. Like, there's just no combination better. British Racing Green against carbon. Oh my days. On a Lamborghini Gallardo, I actually feel like I'm building something personal to me with this car now. Like, let me show you. It is 1:45 in the morning and I can't stop working on this car because every time I bolt something on it, it just looks better and better, and I just want to keep going. I've still got to put the latch on the boot. I've still got to put these quarter panel covers on, and then there's a lot to do at the front. But, oh my days. That is looking sick. On to the next step. With the rear bumper on and looking good, we can now move forward down the car. This oil cooler, which sits inside the quarter panel, has a grill in front of it to protect it from any rocks. Then I can move on to the top quarter panel trim, which also has a grill and an air intake in it. This is an air intake for the old air filters when this car was naturally aspirated, which used to kind of run round into the air filters at the back of the engine here. And then this was a air intake to cool the oil cooler, which is behind here still. So all the air going in there now is now, well, leading to nothing. But the new air intake, the new air filter, is right here. But you might notice it is just above the exhaust, which is probably one of the hottest parts on the car, and that's probably one of the coolest parts of the car. That's the part that we need to keep the coolest, and that's the part that is probably the hottest. So we need to kind of separate this, or have some kind of like cold air feed going into this air filter. So my plan is to make an Adrian Newey air guide from here going down to that air filter to keep both cool. So that's the plan. So I got to work with making a makeshift air intake for the air filter which sits at the back of the car. Now I'm hoping this is going to provide cool air, which is obviously denser, to those air filters at the back. Now ideally I need a heat shield between the exhaust and the air filter, but maybe we can come back to that at a later date. And there it is. Air in from there, down there, into the air filter. Look at that. A lot of research and development went into that. Hours in the wind tunnel to develop this new air intake. All I've got to do now is make an exact replica for the other side. I think that will do the job. It's no Venturi intake, but it's definitely going to guide cool air to that air filter at the back. And with that in, I can start installing the arch linings. This car is starting to look brand new again, which is getting me super excited. And the fact to get to rebuild it exactly how I want it makes it that much more special to me. Now, onto the front. We've got a load of second-hand bits. That's a bit sun damaged, but I'm sure that'll clean up with a bit of plastic cleaner. This. I'm fitting the wiper blade.
You worked Alfords?
Yeah, I didn't fit wiper blades though.
What did you fit?
Bikes.
Oh.
I did PDI on bikes. I was the mechanic.
Wiper blades would be on him.
Yeah. I was hopefully one day I'd be a wiper blade fitter. I'm struggling with this one.
Yeah, I've got a story for you.
Let's hear it.
Took my bike to a train station in Italy.
Yep.
Then left it there.
Yep.
So that I could take my hire car back, and then I was going to catch a train to that train station on my bike, get back to where I was staying.
Yep.
Okay. So I went to the train station, looked. I thought looks a bit dodgy around there. So I took all locks and I locked my bike up. So, like, if somebody was going to take the wheel, they would have had to take the whole bike.
Okay.
You know, because it was like
connected
around the frame.
Yeah.
Locked everything up that you could take off the bike, like the wheels and stuff.
The seat or not?
Handlebars. Well, yeah. That's what happened.
Oh, you're joking,
I
really?
got back, my bike's all locked up, no seat.
They took the seat.
They took the seat.
Why did
So
you
we
not
had-
like the seat?
So we had to do a 5-mile bike ride.
No seat.
Where was that, in Italy?
Yeah.
Bloody Italians. So if anyone's got my dad's bike seat in Italy, please feel free to return it. We're doing the Italians a favour right now and putting one of their cars, which was destined for the scrapyard, back on the road. The least you could do is give back my dad's bike seat. With that being said, it's now time to put on the front wings. There's a lot of bolts holding this thing down. Inside the arch lining, under the headlight, making sure this thing is nice and secure. After that, I move on to the bonnet. After all the chassis work that this car's had, this is the moment where it's all gonna count. We're hoping that all of these panels all line up, because if we've got anything even a millimetre out, it's gonna show now. So we're hoping the panel gaps are gonna be perfect, or at least as close to as possible. Finally, I could put the washer caps on for the headlights. They just clip into place on the right side, and the same on the left side. And that is the bonnet and both front wings in place.
What goes in this big hole here?
A wheel.
Look at this! I built up the bumper, and I've got carbon in the middle to match the carbon rear diffuser, like the Super Leggera. All that was left to do was fit it. Yes! Again, as it's the OEM bumper, it slid in nicely. Everything was lining up good. That is the best panel fitment we've ever had from just bolting it on. Now, this car's really coming to life. The British Racing Green is truly making this a one-of-one Lamborghini Gallardo. Now we can start putting all the trims which go underneath the bonnet, including the storage tub. This just pushes down into place, and then there's 4 bolts which hold it to the chassis. Once we've got that in, we can then begin to add all the trims which sit around it. Not forgetting the original Lamborghini tool bags and the oil you get with the Lamborghini as well. It's looking as good as new now. That's pretty much the front end wrapped up, which means now we can move on to putting the front arch linings in. These are second-hand arch linings, but they do look pretty much brand new. And they're used to just protect the body of the car against the weather and any stones that the tyres throw up. And finally, we can go underneath and start installing the front under tray. But just as I was putting the back wheel back on, we ran into an issue. Now previously, we replaced this whole wheel hub with a second-hand one, but the wheel bearing on the second-hand one didn't seem that great, so I put the original wheel bearing on. But I had a small doubt that the wheel bearing was going to be bent after the accident. So before I put the wheel on, I wanted to run the car in gear and see if the brake disc with the wheel hub was wobbling left to right. And that would give me a good indication on whether this wheel bearing was bent. When we put it in gear and ran it, everything seemed all good. That wasn't the problem. The problem was with the engine. It started running really lumpy, and it was smoking a lot from the left bank of the engine.
Look at how bad it's smoking.
Oh. Now my first thought was fuel, and normally when a car gets low on fuel, it starts to sputter because it's being starved of it. So I'm hoping this would fix it. But I did have another doubt. Previously on one of the second channel videos, whilst I was away, Liam was installing some panels on the back. And for some of those panels, he had to drill into the chassis to fit them. The problem is we spotted this, which looks like there was metal going into the turbos. And if any did get in there, it could have caused some serious damage to the engine.
Do you think it's fuel or do you think it's metal shards?
It's not what I think, it's what I hope.
What else could it have done? Metal shards?
Metal shard, depending on how big the metal shards are, there is a chance that they can just go in and out.
First things first, let's just see if the fuel fixed it. Still seems to have a small misfire from the left bank of the engine, the side where potentially some metal could have got into. It's not smoking, it's just missing. Because this car has 10 cylinders, if one cylinder's misfiring, it is quite difficult to tell, but we can smell the excess fuel which is not being burned. Our next step was just to plug in the diagnostic tool. This has got an aftermarket ECU for the engine, so it uses a special software to read the codes off the engine.
There's no knock on it. All we've got is speed sensors.
No faults?
No faults at all, just speed sensors.
But despite the misfire, there was no fault codes.
I mean, the light speed injector's gone down, but it'll say on there.
Yeah, look, because you know the ticking.
It just sounds like it's missing the cylinder.
Yeah, the ticking could be an injector, couldn't it? You know when an injector gets stuck open,
it can be, yeah.
It really wasn't sounding healthy from the left bank of the engine. We then looked at the live data, which showed us that the left side of the engine was running really rich compared to the right side.
Really rich? That side's legal.
Meaning that there was a lot of unburnt fuel travelling through the left side of the engine. Now this didn't make any sense. If there was damage to the engine, it's unlikely that there would be damage to every single cylinder on the left side. Oh! This was not ideal.
Right, so the engine's very bad, but what's the plan?
We're going to have a look at the spark plugs first. That's the plan A.
Plan A.
That should always be the plan A, really, shouldn't it?
Check the spark plugs.
We've put it on the ECU, on the computer, and it's not coming up with a problem. So first thing is to get the spark plugs out.
And this is the easiest and the cheapest way to fix this engine if it is the problem.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed then.
This is the most logical thing to do. But that's going to start by removing the spark plugs on the left side. Once the spark plugs are out, we can get a camera down in the cylinder to see if there's any damage there. And also when the plugs are out, we'll be able to see if there's any damage to them. This is stressful, and if I have to take this engine out again, for sure, I'm going to be missing dinner tonight, so it's probably a good idea to grab one of these, a Y food.
Pencil coil. These have got 5 of these.
Eventually, my dad got some of the coils out, which had no damage to them. But if they did, I'm sure it would have come up on a fault code. These Y Foods are a meal replacement drink, and it gives your body what it needs to replace a meal throughout the day. Perfect for people who are constantly on the go, like ourselves. My dad's managed to get out all the coils now, and he's on to removing the spark plugs. Out with the first one, which does look slightly wet, but nothing worrying. Now, onto the second one.
Ooh. See that one compared to that one?
Yeah, that looks like you're putting the toaster too long. It does, doesn't it? Like that one is like, your missus made your toast.
All of this black on the spark plug is carbon. And it could be caused from the engine running rich, or your spark plugs also may look like this if the car sat idling for too long. My Gallardo hasn't really moved anywhere in the past couple of months. So my dad continued removing all of the spark plugs out of the left bank. Now if it is a spark plug, then we're going to be lucky. So the best thing I can do is have a happy banana, because hopefully that will cheer me up. And the good news for you guys is that if you don't like banana, there's loads of different flavours to choose from. And on top of that, there's 26 vitamins and minerals in there. It's high in fibre, high in protein, lactose free, gluten free, and there's no added sugar.
If you stop and start it, and if you shunt it around,
yeah,
you can foul the plugs.
Yeah, I think the plugs are really fouled. That's what I'm thinking, because do you know, because we've just been moving it on and off the ramp, but I was just worried because it's only one bank.
Yeah, it can happen. It's probably not one bank. It's probably just one plug. So if one's soaking wet, that's probably the cylinder that's got misfire. The soot basically blackens the electrode, and then the spark can't jump. I would use like the gentlest wire brush you've got. If you've got like a brass wire brush.
A gentle brass wire brush. My dad found the most gentle brass wire brush he could find and cleaned up the old spark plugs and then reinstalled them. As we couldn't get new spark plugs for another week, so we've got to hope this works. Now, if you wanted to grab one of these and try these out, you can do with the link in the description box below, and with a discount code, there's 22% off all products. So if you're trying to be healthier and eat healthier, this is your perfect meal replacement drink. Go check it out with the link in the description box. Let's hope this is a spark plug.
Brand new second-hand spark plugs in. This is the moment of truth.
It sounded like it was working, although I wasn't too convinced, but it sounded much better than before.
I'm so happy that worked. Look at that.
I think it actually did work. We could have got off so lightly here.
We've got 10 cylinders instead of 9.
Exactly, yeah.
So it seems the best case scenario actually worked. Just cleaning the spark plugs, which probably ended up that way from starting up the car and just moving it in and out the unit for the past couple of months. This Gallardo likes to be driven, not just moved around. Normally these green clips, they hold in and they have the zip tie on. Haven't got any of them. So I've seen this thing on TikTok, and so say these are meant to go there, okay? What you do is you get your zip tie through the back hole like that, yeah, wrap it round the wire like that,
Yep.
and you go back in like that. Then join the zip tie up at the back, and it holds the wires accordingly. And you just give it a trim, boom. Look at that.
Is that because the big part of the zip tie holds it from going through the hole?
Yeah, look, doesn't come out. Doesn't come out. Good, isn't it? I'm not sure why I got so excited about a little zip tie, but it's the little things, and it's the little things that matter. Now I'm putting in the window regulator, and once I got that in, I could slide down the electrics for the wing mirror, because the wires need to stay out of the way of this window regulator to stop the window going down and pulling the wires for the wing mirror out of the connection. Once that's done, I can add all new clips to the rubber seal which goes around the door and clip that all into place. With that all in, I can bolt the motor for the electric window onto the window regulator and then connect up all the electrical connections for it. Now it's time for the glass. This slides down between the seals in the door. I had to take off all the brackets so it'd actually fit down there, and once I slid it down, I've got to reattach the brackets to the bottom of the glass and then slide a bolt through to clamp it onto the window regulator. One on the back and then also one on the front. What I like about these older Lamborghinis is that everything is so simple and there's no overcomplicated electrics on it. Before I test the window out, I'm going to put the door seal in place. Then I can see how this window seats up against the door seal. Once that's in, I can close the door and see how the window sits. And it seems pretty good. Okay, doors all built up, window glass aligned, door aligned, everything all on here. We've still got the side skirt to put on, but instead of putting the original leather door card on, which is going to be heavy, therefore meaning that we will be slower, we've got upgrades. Look at this. Carbon fibre door card out of a Superleggera. Needs a bit of a clean up, it's second hand, but these things are well expensive, but we've got some second hand, and this is super lightweight, like it weighs literally nothing. And because we're going for race car spec and full carbon, we're going to be putting this in. It's going to be not very luxury, as my dad would say, but it's going to be faster. Here, like this first.
What's that for?
This is how to open and close the door.
What?
That's how you open and close the door.
What's that, a leather handle?
Yeah, it's like a leather strap.
That's proper race car.
But yeah, look at that. Carbon bracket as well. They didn't even do an aluminium bracket. The carbon bracket. We've still got all your usual gubbins that you get in a Lamborghini. Door speaker thing, but it's Mansory glued in. And that's pretty much it. It's no frills, but I like it like this. There's less stuff to go wrong. First thing to connect is the door lock switch. Then the cable for the door handle can slide in. After that, there's an electrical connection for a light, and that's it. I can just slide the new carbon door card into the seals, and it all just clips into place. I can then pull the leather handle through the holes and tighten up the 2 bolts which hold this door card to the door, keeping it lightweight as ever. Then the door strap just needs assembling, which bolts together with a bit of carbon and an Allen key bolt. Next up, it's the side skirt. This clips into place. There's a few bolts which bolt it to the car on the top and a few underneath, Then for this trim, of course, the Mansouri glue comes out and we can push that down on top of the side skirt to finish it off nicely. The car's now starting to come together, but we're still yet to change the wheels. But before that, I've got some work to do on the interior.
Good.
Look what I've got.
What have you got?
Carbon fibre control panel.
I bet that weighs nothing.
Weight saved, what, 300 gram, I'm gonna say. So like, you know, pop up on the screen. 300 grams saved, cha-ching, minus.
He's on something.
More carbon fibre added to the interior. This time, the surround for the drive controls. Then, I've got more. This is well lighter than this.
How many grams saved?
800 gram saved.
800 grams.
Oh, do we want that orange?
I think so, because...
What, you want orange there?
Yeah, because I think it might go well with a new
But wouldn't
thing we
that...
have going on.
Oh, what, you reckon keep that orange?
Yeah, because orange stitching and...
What's everyone think, that orange there?
They won't know until they see our next modification.
With that grey? Instead of that grey? You want
so.
orange there? It's a bit Ali G though, isn't it?
Yeah, but wait until you see the seats. They'll go with that.
Are you sure?
100%.
Okay, we'll try it. We'll try it. It's a bit Ali G.
You've got carbon fibre interior. That's wow Ali G.
No, because it's lightweight.
Okay.
So it's on with the carbon fibre centre console. Door card on.
Not as good as the leather one though, in my opinion.
And with the door cards on and the centre console in, I can start finally building up the rest of the interior. This part here is the rear bench which sits behind the seats. And there's one thing I want to fit to it, which I'm hoping I don't ever have to use. Right here is a fire extinguisher holder. I'm just drilling the bracket in place, nut and bolting it, and then I can slide the fire extinguisher in place and install it into the back of the car. Last thing, the seats. Now this is the passenger seat and the airbag deployed and I had no passenger. So to replace this airbag, you've got to buy this section of the seat here, but on this seat, it's leather, leather's quite heavy. Also, it's electrical adjustment on the side, electrical connections, heavy, electrical motors, heavy. Also, airbag on that side and there's going to be an airbag on the driver's side, heavy. So, they're not going in. We've got these bad boys. These are Lamborghini Superleggera carbon bucket seats and they are so light, like it's literally legitimately Lamborghini, but we've had them retrimmed because they were a bit old and rusty and that. We've got my MA logo in the top, orange stitching, Alcantara, and this has got absolutely zero electrics in the bottom of this and no airbags. So a massive thanks to Auto Trim for retrimming these seats and making them truly my own. The seats are a massive part of the car, especially in the interior of a Gallardo. And with this being a car I'm never gonna sell, I wanted it to really be my own. And I think these carbon seats have really topped off the interior. And they're not the most comfortable of things, but you can't go fast in a Rolls Royce, can you? So you've got to have compromises.
They do look cool.
They look good. They look absolutely sick. Let's have the full effect. Everything's now a bit more creakier and race car-y, but that's what this car's about. It feels like proper race car in here now, doesn't it?
It looks like carbon, orange stitching, carbon,
yeah,
orange, carbon. It's just...
Yeah, I think it does feel good. The only one problem is we can't drive it yet on those wheels because these wheels are well and truly buckled. So we're going to get some warranty work done at Wheelmania. Off to Wheelmania, but on a trailer. We're not going to drive this thing just yet. Let's go. These wheels have been in actually the previous videos if anyone's noticed. Yeah. Here are the new wheels for the Gallardo. Custom forged by Wheelmania. A completely different look than before and a completely different colour. But I'm more than happy with them. Here they are. Custom 19-inch. We've got a size smaller, so then I can run a bigger tyre, more grip, and look at this. Hard work beats talent with the MA logo in the middle.
So the old wheels, that's one of my favourite wheels we've ever done.
But it is time to say goodbye to them. They took a pretty big beating in the crash. Right, I'm excited to get these on. Let's see what they actually look like. But remember, custom wheels as well. I did all this. You guys can do it as well. All you need to do is WhatsApp Wheelmania and tell them what you want. And that's how they do. Literally make anything. Literally anything. But now it's out with the old bronze wheels and it's in with the new racy looking 19-inch wheels. I'm hoping these size wheels are really going to help with the setup of the car. And we can finally say goodbye to those racing slicks. And it'd be a shame for the old wheels to go to waste, so I'm going to be giving them away to some of you guys. The wheels are on. It looks like 1,000,000,000% better. Like, I didn't think it could look better than it did, but now it definitely does. I'm not going to show you guys just yet because I can't even drive it. Let's go and line this thing and make sure everything's all pointing in a straight line. Let's do it. This is a big moment now. Literally tomorrow this car gets trailered to a place you're going to see in the next clip. And if nothing lines up, bearing in mind we've cut the front chassis off, the rear chassis off, welded them all back together. If nothing lines up now, we're in a big problem. We know it's going to be all over the place, but it's whether these guys can get it straight, and if they can get it straight, we're going to go for a good setup to hopefully be the fastest round the track. It's all down to this moment. Come on. So yes, the Gallardo will be going on track to test this rebuild to the limit, but we've got to make sure all the wheels are pointing straight. At the minute, they're really far off. So the car's going up in the air, and the guys at Illumi Motorsport are going to start adjusting all the adjustable camber bolts and the track rod ends to try and get this set up perfect.
Left-hand passenger side is right on the top of spec. We like caster, because that gives you more dynamic camber.
So far, it's looking good. And it looks like we got all the chassis perfectly in line. And now, so's the suspension. That's crazy that we've got, like, these guys have got it in within 0.1 degree. I don't even know why you measure this stupid thing, but you literally second. They've got it within a second on each four corners, with this chassis being completely chopped off front and back and put all back together again. So that is promising. You can also now see the car complete. I have a proper connection with this car. I don't care what people say. You can't have a connection with a piece of metal. This is a car that represents most things that I've done. It was an achievement, it was a goal. And when I crashed it, I genuinely thought this car might not be rebuildable. It's twitchy. It drives a lot better now it's four-wheel drive. It looks exactly how I want it. And now I'm driving it in Portugal on a track. You can't ride this. I love this car. Now we had the car sent to this brand new circuit in Portugal, and we were supposed to be racing the Gallardo against some other cars. Problem for us, it seems like it was the only day in Portugal where it actually rained, and I didn't want a repeat of the last time in the wet with the Gallardo. So to be safe, I just wanted to enjoy the car for myself. And this is it.
better than I ever imagined. Better than it was before, 100%. This car is now done on the road driving better than ever. And I think it looks amazing, even though it is absolutely filthy right now. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
You got it on yet?
Do you want to smash around the face?